Great. Hi, Doreen. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a real pleasure to have you here. And we're glad that, just glad to have you back to discuss the findings from this year's report. And I'm going to kick off with my first question, which is I was wondering if there was anything in this year's report that surprised you.
Great question. And, let me say, Claire, I'm happy to be back with you for this. And really a big congratulations to you and the GSMA team for this report. I would say what surprised me positively so, or pleasantly so, is that the gap finally is starting to narrow a bit. I think that's good news. We'd like to see more progress, but at least we're moving in the right direction. I think that stagnation that you and I have spoken about for years was definitely a worrying trend. And so I think my first reaction would be one of excitement and some relief. And I think it's actually something to celebrate, given that the world is backsliding on so many of the SDGs, including SDG 5, which is all about gender equality. I think, though, Claire, that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and I think I'm always surprised that some people continue to believe that the internet is not as important for women as it is for men. And I recall when we were together in Barcelona at the Women's Leadership Roundtable, one of the speakers was actually talking about delivering to a group of women mobile devices to a rural community, and that they had gone back a year later, the donors that had provided those mobile devices, and they found out that all the devices had actually been given to husbands, fathers, brothers, and cousins. And I think that, of course, is most unfortunate. Maybe it's an example of discrimination that women face when it comes to not just accessing, but also being able to thrive in a digital world where women remain still largely underrepresented, especially in the tech workforce. And I think we have to, as we look further and we want to have more progress even for next year, we also have to find ways to tackle some of those cultural barriers. We have to find ways to tackle some of the other issues linked to affordability, linked to online safety, and also linked to digital skills, because these are some of the impediments that actually keep women offline. So we have to find ways to tackle those issues. And I guess just one other point to mention, Claire, in our work, of course, we have our ITU facts and figures, and we were doing something for landlocked developing countries. And I think when it comes to landlocked, least developed countries, I think that there is still a challenge that remains. And we still see a significant digital gender gap. And it's actually increased by 3 percentage points since 2019, if we look back to then. And so that's a gap in a specific group of countries that we still need to tackle.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that. And thanks for highlighting just sort of some of the challenges that we still have to go. As you said, there's some slightly positive news story, but there's still a lot of women who are not online. And we're still only back to where we were in 2020 in terms of the mobile internet gender gap. So you mentioned a few things that are, that we need to focus on, but I was wondering, what do you think we can do to really make sure that this trend continues? It was obviously, it feels a bit fragile to me that, the gap widened and now it's back to where it was in 2020. How do we make sure that this reducing trend continues?
I think that's a great question. And I think, Claire, we can't be complacent. We can't sort of declare victory, because we're definitely not there yet. The progress is encouraging, but we need to basically keep the attention on the digital gender gap. And that means the infrastructure investment piece, because it's not there universally. It means also the device affordability piece, which I mentioned before, the skills. We find that women and girls are less likely to have the needed digital skills. And I would also add, like cyber safety skills. We need to also zoom in on online protection, as women and girls are more often subject to online harassment and bullying. So I think we need to tackle all of those issues, and we need to do it through things like our Equals partnership, through things like our Partner to Connect coalition, which is focused on connecting the hardest to connect. I was trying to think of some examples for our chat, and I was thinking about an initiative that we recognized in the context of Equals, and it was a woman in Colombia. Her name is Luz Nelcy Rodriguez, and she cultivates passion fruit, cocoa beans, and oranges on a farm on land that she inherited from her father in a small village. And of course, that land is her pride. And she really wanted to try to grow her business. And she needed a loan for that business. And so she went to a local branch of BBVA, the Microfinance Foundation, and she was able to secure a loan. And through digital finance, having access to technology, through training and support that she got through the BBVA program, she was able to repay her loan, but she was also able to support her family and grow her business. And I think it's examples like that we need to keep in sight if we're going to continue to progress and really close the digital gender gap. And I would also just add, Claire, that when it comes to next year, we have an incredible opportunity with the Beijing Plus 20 review. I think that's a moment to bring global attention to that issue. We also have the ITU anniversary celebration on the 17th of May next year, where ITU will be 160 years old. And we're also focused on the gender gap. And so bringing those two opportunities together and zooming in on concrete solutions and actions that can close the gap, I think will ensure that we move together sustainably.
Great. Thanks for highlighting the importance of the sort of addressing all the barriers, but also bringing some practical examples of how, positive news of how we could do it, and importance of highlighting this as an issue. We don't have a ton of time today, so I just was wondering, you've been working on this for a very long time and a real leader in this space, very inspirational. If you just had one piece of advice for this audience, you talked about a lot of different things that we can be doing, but if you had one piece of advice, what do you think it would be?
One piece of advice. I would say bring more young people, more young voices to the table. We need those experiences. We need to understand their needs. And so let's engage with young women and girls and ensure that we are able to give them the digital opportunities that can help empower and fulfill them.
Thanks. That's a great piece of advice. Thank you so much, Doreen, for your time today and for being such a supporter of this issue and really driving work forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you and congratulations, and always grateful for the strong partnership, Claire. Thank you.